is important because this is your life's work. How much of this is caused by human activity? And how much of it can we actually change if we really got serious about it?
Okay, so not to put too fine a point on it, all of it is caused by human activity, 100%. And here's the story there. One of the things that climate deniers say all the time is the climate's always changed. And without a doubt, in the 4+ billion year history of the Earth, the climate has always changed for reasons that, believe it or not, climate scientists actually understand. Those natural climate changes are incredibly slow, and that's not what's happening now. If there were no human impact on the climate, the temperature of the planet would actually be very slowly going down, incredibly slowly, but actually decreasing. So all of the increase in temperature that we're seeing, all of the change in storm frequencies and intensities, all of the sea level rise is human caused. It's caused by our burning of fossil fuels, our emissions of carbon dioxide, which is a heat trapping gas, very well understood. And that is what's causing what we call the greenhouse effect. Your second question is, can we do something about it? The answer there is also yes, absolutely. Sort of unlike the comet, which is a rapid thing. I mean, the good news about this is that climate change is a slow moving thing caused by humans. And because of that, we can do something about it. And what we need to do, of course, is reduce our emissions of greenhouse gases. We have to stop burning fossil fuels and the other things that emit these greenhouse gases. And the faster we do that, the less climate change we will see. The bad news is, no matter how fast we change our emissions of greenhouse gases, some climate impacts are now unavoidable because, sort of like the comet story, we ignored this problem for decades and we let it get out of hand.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you something. I saw when I looked you up that it said something about hydrology, and I want to know, like, is that something that you are looking at in terms of like alternate fuel? Like, what can you teach us about that? Because we've had nuclear, we've had solar people on, like whatever, but we've not had on somebody that could talk about hydropower. So when I saw that, I'm like, is that your thing too?
Yeah, so my background is energy and water. Hydrology basically means the water cycle. A lot of my work is focused even early on the impacts of climate change on water resources, sea level rise, changes in storm patterns, changes in water quality and availability, changes in demand for water by agriculture as temperatures go up, that kind of thing. But I've also done a lot of work on energy, and including hydropower. Hydropower is an important part of our energy system, especially in the West, where we have mountains and we can build big reservoirs. And one of the consequences of climate change that affects water resources is it's going to change the amount of hydropower we get. So that's an issue. But hydropower is a good way to produce energy that doesn't produce carbon. The problem, of course, with hydropower is, it's big dams on big rivers, and that affects ecosystems. It affects communities. We've built on all the good dam sites in the Western United States. We're not going to build any more big hydropower dams, but we get a lot of hydropower in the West, in the Northwest especially, but also, on the Colorado River and in California. And that's going to continue to be part of our energy system.
I wish we could have that here. I almost feel like it should be some sort of offshore type of thing. Like, instead of offshore drilling, we should have like offshore something that takes the waves and the water energy and puts it back.
Well, there are underwater turbines, and if you can talk about that, that's a form of technology that I think could be very effective. I don't know if it can only be centered near coastlines or if it's something that has to be put out. And I know that the wind technology is constantly advancing. One of the issues people talk about is endangered species flying into the turbines, but they're creating a technology now where basically they're built with, or they could be updated with sensors. So that way the birds, again, I've driven along I-10, as I'm sure you have, between Los Angeles and Palm Springs. And it's basically just an endless stream of wind energy. But, we're constantly advancing in a way that I think is a good thing. But I'm curious from your perspective, there's always this argument of, well, we couldn't actually power the United States on renewables alone right now. Where are we from your perspective as far as, the advancing technology like the underwater turbines? And do we have that capability right now today to say, okay, that's it, we're off of natural gas and coal, we're going directly to, every renewable you could think of?
So the good news is we can generate electricity and energy without burning carbon. We know how to do that.
Yes.
Wind and solar are incredibly developed now. They're remarkably cheap. They're actually cheaper now than any other form of energy. We're going to see more and more wind and solar all across the country. In California, we get 60% of our electricity now from non-carbon energy sources, from wind, solar, hydropower, geothermal. They're expanding very, very rapidly. And that's going to continue to happen. It has to happen faster than it's happening now, but that's absolutely the answer. There are new technologies like that try to capture the energy in waves along coasts. There have been some demonstrations of technologies that work. It's kind of hard to do. The ocean is not a very forgiving environment. And the machinery that they would use to generate electricity from waves takes a beating. Whether or not that's ever going to be cost effective or really, really an important part, I don't know yet, but it's a possibility. It certainly works. But we have to think about it in the context of, economics and environmental impact and so on. A comment about wind turbines, every energy source has environmental impacts, every one.
Yeah.
We have to balance those with the alternatives that are available to us. Wind kills some birds, but not very many, not as many as cats, for example. And as you point out, we're figuring out how to make wind turbines more bird friendly. And I think we'll continue to do that over time. These technologies will get better and better. As they get better and better, we will deploy them faster and faster.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.